Today on Rambling About Cars, Subaru launches a new WRX, sort of. Mercedes launches a bunch of new electric cars. Chevrolet launches a new Silverado, and we launch into diatribes about all of them. And later on, we're also going to talk about some future exciting stuff that's going to be going on the podcast, so stay tuned for that. Fanatic fans, it is podcast time. I'm Christopher Smith. Across the way is Chris Bruce, and there's another person in the house today.
Yeah, we have Clint Simone with us again.
You guys decided to let me in. You didn't lock the door this time around.
No, we forgot.
Wait, there are locks on the doors?
No, not as far as I can tell. I just kicked it wide open.
Oh, boy. This could get dicey.
Let's get this show on the road. So, as we're recording right now, technically, the first two things we're going to be talking about are still under embargo.
Breaking news.
Yeah, we know more than you do. But so let's get the show started, and we will talk about the refresh 2022 Chevrolet Silverado.
I want to stop you for a second, Bruce. Do we really know more than they do right now? Because we're kind of getting this. I mean, this info is like coming to us pretty fresh today. Yeah, it's a couple days ahead of when everybody else is going to learn.
It hasn't leaked anywhere from what I've seen either. I mean,
I know Bruce has all the info because he already wrote about Silverado.
Right. I attended the background, or I wrote up our story. It's all, as you can see here, it's all set to go. But as of right now, yeah, it's still technically under embargo. So we'll get this thing started.
Can it stay that way? Because
it doesn't look that bad.
It
looks better. No, actually,
let's give our listeners here a little dope about what's going on.
Tell them what's new.
Sure. New Chevrolet Silverado. It's refreshed for 2022. Bruce, tell us all about it, man.
So all models basically get a new front fascia and a little bit of a new grille.
Thank God.
But really the upgrades are for the LT trim and above. The big news is that there's a new ZR2 model, and Chevy is positioning that as their flagship off-road Silverado. It is, don't kind of get your hopes up. This is not a Raptor. This is not a Ram TRX. It still gets the 6.2 liter V8 naturally aspirated that are in other versions of the Silverado. So you get 420 horsepower, 460 pound-feet of torque. But it's weird to say that 420 horsepower in the modern world in a kind of performance pickup isn't impressive, because that's still a healthy number. But you do get 40 millimeter diameter Multimatic DSSV dampers. You get springs that allow for extra wheel travel at the front and back. You get front and rear e-lockers, and you get kind of a modified body, different bumpers that allow for an improved approach and departure angle.
So if they're not going for Raptor, I mean, it kind of sounds like they're trying to go for Raptor, or at least they're trying to build something that people might say, well, instead of a Raptor, I'll get this. I mean, you were on the backgrounder. Yeah. Can you tell us? That question came up, didn't it?
It did. Someone specifically asked, does this compete against the Raptor and the TRX? And Chevy, the people that were speaking, they kind of poo-pooed that. They were like, no, this is its own thing. This is a vehicle that works well off-road, but also works well on-road.
That's because they know we want to do comparison tests with the trucks, and this thing would probably be taken out to lunch. But they also, Chevy hasn't had a seat at this table. They haven't had a Raptor competitor. They haven't had a TRX. So they put together an off-road trim, and they say this is the closest you're going to get for a while. Good luck. I'm sure they can shove a bigger engine in this. Where would they source that engine from? You guys are smarter than I am with this stuff.
But they don't need a bigger engine in this. The Raptor is 450 horsepower.
This was what? I'm sorry?
This is 420. I mean, this is
all right, it might as well be the same.
Less.
Yeah.
I mean, that segment, aside from the Ram people that are just Hellcat obsessed,
yeah.
I mean, that's gobs of power, and they're more interested in the kind of burly off-road aspect. I mean, you don't need to be pumping a lot of horsepower into the ZR2 to make it a Raptor fighter. You just need to upgrade the suspension, which they did. Some beefier tires,
which they did.
33-inch
mud terrain tires on 18-inch wheels.
I mean, I don't understand why they're a little gun shy, unless Clint, like you said, it's just, yeah, they upgraded the suspension, but it's still just not quite the same level. But isn't there like some B-roll footage floating around now?
There is, unfortunately, because of the embargo and because of our site, I can't show it yet because I can't show it yet.
But they're basically comparing it to like some of their Baja efforts, which where have we heard that before? Raptor? I just
So I'm not the off-road geek that's going to be really excited about all the kit. I'm more excited that they've brought the interior to a point where it can compete with the other trucks in its segment. These are big changes. Remember, like, we've been driving the Silverado for the last few years. The infotainment was about yay big, and it felt completely behind the times. You get into an F-150 or any new Ram, and they feel sensational. They feel like luxury products, and the Silverado was far and away behind, but they took the infotainment and really, really beefed it up, and you can see the little thing on the steering wheel. Super Cruise is finally here.
Yeah.
So
I'll say it looks much better inside than outside. I mean, I'll give him credit there.
And so Clint raises some very good points. So on the LT trim and above, so that's your LT, that's your new ZR2, your high country, stuff like that, you are getting a new, kind of a completely new digital instrument cluster and digital infotainment screen that you can see here. I'm looking at the numbers now. The instrument cluster measures, I believe it's 12.3 inches, and the infotainment is 13.4 inches, both of those diagonal. And if those numbers sound familiar, those are the exact same figures that the new Hummer EV is going to have. I can't say they didn't specify that those are the same screens, but the fact that the sizes are the same suggests to me that those are the same screens.
Yeah, I think they must be, and I think that's running the new generation of infotainment for them, which is a big deal, and that's going to really modernize things and probably improve processing speeds and all that too. So I told you right before we started the podcast, I cannot believe that the Chevy Tahoe and Suburban missed the boat without that infotainment setup. But because those are such high profile, high selling cars for them. But I guess they need to make a statement too, and putting it in the Silverado first isn't a bad way to do that.
Yep. And the other thing two other things worth noting. Trucks with the bucket seats, like you're seeing here, they get this new electronic shift-by-wire gear shift. And the high country, which is the range topping model, they get all of this open pore wood that you're seeing. So kind of,
they're definitely trying to aim the bar a little bit higher.
Yeah.
Ever since Ram came out with their current generation, I mean, I think that raised the bar above everybody else, and then Ford had to respond. Now, finally, Chevrolet is responding with the Silverado. But I don't know, guys. My father is going to hate this because he's had Silverados for several years, and he really likes his, but I mean, it's still number 3 on my list. It might even be number 4 beneath Toyota. In fact, it's definitely number 4 beneath Toyota.
Yeah,
as far as full size trucks, I would take, despite their best efforts with this new offering. It's just, I'm still not happy with the front end look. It just kind of has sort of the, it doesn't have quite the same broiler pan grill that my wife used to, call it when it first came out. It's like, this looks like a broiler pan you put in the oven. It's just kind of just very, very awkward and in your face. The styling here is a little bit better, but it's still just, it looks both awkward and like it's trying too hard at the same time in my mind.
But what the Toyota you just mentioned doesn't have, and that we're showing here, is that the high country, which is again the range topping model, it will be available with optional Chevy's advanced driving system.
Super Cruise.
Thank you.
It's just fun to say.
It is fun to say.
Super Cruise.
Yeah. So you will be able to get Super Cruise on the range topping model as an option, and that will actually come with a trailering system that will be able to figure out how much mass your trailer weighs behind you and will be able to adapt braking distances. It will also have an oscillation system that if you're your trailer starts to sway back and forth, it will be able to advise the driver and tell them to take control, because apparently Super Cruise isn't smart enough to do that.
But this is the first truck to have Super Cruise, so that's a new piece of tech.
Yep. Yeah.
Unless I'm mistaken, and the Escalade has that, but I'm not certain that it does, because I
No.
think you can tow with an Escalade, obviously.
It's going to have that upgrade. We covered that. Chevy
Okay.
announced it like a month or so, 6 weeks, month or so ago. We also already know, because of that same announcement, the GMC Sierra is going to have the same tech once
That's
its
good.
refresh debuts. But
It just cracks me up that we saw Super Cruise a couple of years ago. We got to test it and said, this is fantastic. This is a nice, really industry leading, or at least on par with industry leading piece of kit. And then nothing in the last model year had it. They put it to sleep and then revived it with the Escalade. But it's amazing to me that in true GM form, they have this wonderful piece of tech and then they put it to sleep. And now they're just starting to roll it out widespread in the lineup.
well, I think it is cool that you can tow with it now too, because when you talk about your Escalade, your Silverado, your Sierra, stuff like that, those are vehicles that a lot of people are towing with them, and so being able to have that functionality and have your Super Cruise, that's pretty cool.
I agree. Ford is rolling out Blue Cruise. They're starting to.
Yep.
These acronyms and these names are going to get a lot funnier as we head into the future, my friends. But get ready to cruise in as many different ways as you can.
I mean, am I showing my age here in saying that I'm not comfortable super cruising while towing a trailer? I just feel like that requires a lot more attention behind the wheel.
If you're
when I've
towing,
towed trailers, I mean, I think I generally try to pay more attention than a lot of people on the road. Maybe I'm arrogant in saying that. But I mean, when I'm towing a trailer or in a bigger vehicle, I'm paying more attention. I'm comfortable, but I'm not relaxed, if you understand what I'm saying. And I feel like with Super Cruise towing a trailer, it would just be very easy to kind of zone out and forget you're towing a freaking house behind you. And then, Super Cruise,
let's test it. Let's see how it does. But I mean, we can vouch for how well the software works. And the hardware, I guess. But the whole system, I got to do it on the highway for a little bit, and it is true hands off when appropriate. And it starts to tell you when is no longer hands off. So, I mean, it does those things the right way. So I believe in this system. They did a great job with it. So I'm not sure if the Ford system actually mentions anything about towing. That's something I have to look up. I don't think it does.
I haven't heard that. I don't know right now the same with Blue Cruise, whether you can tow with it. So that's a good point. And also, Smith, the thing is, hey, Chevy, if you're listening, invite Smith on whatever drive you guys are doing for Super Cruise and show him, because he'll come on the podcast and tell us. So
talk about it. Yeah.
I'll find a car. Let's see. I'm in South Dakota. I'll find a cool car over like in Virginia, maybe a $3,500 Taurus show that I'll pick up. But no, wait, if it's going to be Chevy, crap. A C3 Corvette project car. There we go. I'll go across the way, pick it up. We'll tow it with a new Silverado with Super Cruise, and I'll determine if it's smarter than I am. Of course, it's smarter than I am, but technology.
The last big upgrade for the Silverado involves two of its engines. So the base 2.7 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder, it now makes 420 pound-feet of torque. It made 348 pound-feet before, so that's a healthy upgrade.
Yeah, it is.
They strengthened the crank, they strengthened the block. Those are the two big additions, and
put it in a Cadillac.
And they kind of did some other littler things too, but the strengthened block and crank were the big things, and that lets the rear drive version tow up to 9,600 pounds.
Damn.
Which for a 2.7 liter 4-cylinder, that's just a stupid amount of weight. I'm shocked by that.
Yeah, that's a great thing to point out. You're totally right. It's a good engine too. I think truck buyers kind of steer away from it because I don't want a 4-cylinder, but it's a good truck engine. It really is.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is that their 3-liter inline-6 turbo diesel, it can now tow 13,300 pounds. Before, it could only tow 9,500 pounds.
That's a big upgrade too.
Yeah, so I specifically asked this during the event. They said they strengthened the chassis, they improved cooling, and it now has a 373 final drive ratio versus a 323 before. So those were the major upgrades that kind of let them get that huge increase in towing.
How much more do we need to tow? I mean, boats are still weighing the same, are they not?
I mean, we've talked about this before. It's a status thing. I mean, there are at this level, when you're talking about 13,000 pounds, I mean, there are some pieces of equipment that will weigh that much. I mean, I remember in my previous life as a marketing manager for a wood chipper company. It's not hard to get a towable wood chipper on just a regular 1/2 or 3/4 ton truck. It's over 10,000 pounds. So, I mean, there are legit applications here. When you start getting up to, some of the 1 tons that are basically towing an aircraft carrier, it's like, it's just kind of ridiculous. It's just about the numbers. But
the trucks are getting smarter. I'm excited for this. We're seeing a little. Yeah.
Oh no! Sorry to interrupt. I was just, they're not stylistically. It's kind of a wash. The aesthetic upgrades aren't that much, but the mechanical upgrades, and the tech upgrades as well, I think are pretty impressive. I think it's going to help Chevy kind of narrow the gap with Ford and Ram and stuff like that.
I think so too. And
I was just about to say the time is upon us, though. I think where saying, "Hey, this truck gets 22, 23 miles per gallon," that's good. That time is over. That's not good. The miles per gallon, I mean, they've bumped up very, very slowly when you look at other segments. And with the Lightning coming out, with electrification coming, I think it's time for pickup trucks to really start evolving in that direction. And I've been a little disappointed to see that just really not happening. I'm sorry, 20 miles per gallon sucks.
Yeah.
Well,
in the grand scheme of things,
talking about disappointing directions, let's talk about the new Subaru.
Oh no! We're gonna get yelled at for that one. I didn't condone that transition.
Hey, Subaru PR, you know my email. Go ahead and talk to me.
Oh yeah.
Let's talk about disappointing directions.
Well, show the pictures. Show the pictures first.
Before Subaru PR emails you, Subaru PR, like and follow us on YouTube, Motor One Podcast, because you're going to want to stick with us on this. I'm sure we'll have more to say about the WRX and the STI in the future. Bruce, we should make this point very clear. As our podcast goes live on Friday,
correct,
this news is pretty much breaking right now.
Yes.
And we just got images and information just like a few hours ago.
Yes.
And some of us have probably spent a little more time looking at this than others. So, folks, we're all learning this together. But, Bruce, I have some pictures available, or if you have pictures available?
If you have pictures immediately available, that would help.
Well, let's find out, because we know that
I do.
Pictures. Oh, you do?
Oh, I've got it.
I've got it too. We all have it.
We're taking a look at the 2022 Subaru WRX.
Woo!
Wait for it. GT model. This is a brand new trim. It's going to be the range topping trim for the WRX. You know how the
Can
WRX.
You tell folks, because I can't tell it's a new model.
Show the orange one. Show the orange one. It looks better. I'm trying to help them.
Did any of you guys were either of you disappointed?
That's better. That's better.
In Subaru's photo quality that they sent over. I mean, I was trying to find some really good, just like side-on photos, and they seem to be kind of shadowed. I mean, this is the orange one, as you were talking about, Clint. This is the standard WRX.
Yeah, they drove it on a dry lake bed. It's cool. It's a rally car. Woo!
They made the grill better. They gave it new headlights and beyond that,
taillights that look a little bit more like the BRZ, the new BRZ, and the lower rear fascia is very black and sticks out like a sore thumb against a white car.
There's a back view taken with the lights pointing right at the camera, so half of the car is shaded. Come on, Subaru, you can't even get your media photos right. I'm being a little critical here. I admit.
Well, before we get too critical, let's talk about the specs, because now we can get critical.
Oh, shit. Okay, fine, if we have to. I was just about to come to its defense, but
there is more power for the new WRX.
Tell us how much, Chris.
Let's be fair. It's got, what, 271 horsepower? How much did it have before?
It has 271 horsepower.
Which is up from?
Has 268.
Hey, but
three more horsepower, baby.
Come on, guys. I mean, that's
what about
still
the torque figure? Let's talk torque.
Okay. What's the torque figure? I actually didn't get to the torque figure yet.
You didn't want to.
I've got a press release right here that I printed out on archaic paper.
It has 258 pound-feet of torque. Do you want to know how much the current one has?
Tell us, Chris.
258 pound-feet of torque. They added 400 cc's of displacement. They have 3 more horsepower, no more torque. I don't even know how that's possible.
Yeah, I mean, adding displacement, it seems a little strange, but I wanna just kind of slow the roll here for a second.
Okay.
I mean, we're still talking about a fairly small car here, and 271 horsepower is not insignificant in this car. This isn't a Hellcat. It's not supposed to go out and just blow off its tires in all 5-6 gears. I really want to drive this car. I'm not keen on the styling because it looks very much like the current one.
That's not a bad thing. It looks fine.
It looks like a Toyota. It looks like a Toyota.
They basically build Toyotas. I don't hate the way this looks.
There's this. I don't hate the way it looks. It just doesn't do anything for me. It just seems dull, and I want a little more. I want a little more in my Rex, and it's just. I know that's what the STI version is supposed to do.
I'm trying to read and come to this car's defense because I want to root for it because I like the way it looks. It has a turbocharger now with an electronically controlled wastegate, which means it responds faster. How exciting is that?
Electronically controlled wastegates have been around for 20 years.
Well, this has a new one.
This has a new 20-year-old electronic thing, witchcraft device. I don't do turbos. I do old school.
So it is on the SGP platform now. That's a big deal because those cars are good.
I mean, that's worth noting because we're saying it kind of doesn't look that much different, but it's actually a completely new platform.
So that is amazing that they managed to make it look the exact same, but it has completely new bones. That is an impressive trick to pull off, almost more than the engine stuff.
I don't understand how you give it a bigger engine. You go from a 2-liter to a 2.4. You get 3 more horsepower and no more torque.
Okay, but get the current car out of your head for a second. This does look the same, yes. Does it look bad? No, it does not. It looks good.
It doesn't. It doesn't look bad.
So I like it.
So Clint, are you saying then that the Subaru WRX has become the Porsche 911 of all-wheel drive small sedans?
I'm saying that So they were honest about one thing. They showed us a Lavorg a few years ago in Japan and said, we don't get that here, but this will look like WRX. They're right. It does look exactly like the Lavorg. I like it. I think Subarus are very mildly styled. They're not very stick out at you vehicles. And I actually think this one has a little bit more spice than most of the cars in their lineup right now. So can you show the interior picture? Because that's
I was about to bring that up. And I was going to say, okay, I mean, what do we think about the interior here?
It's got the screen out of the Forester and the Outback and stuff now. The big upright one.
It's I don't know how I feel about the interior either, to be honest.
The graphics on that screen when you interact with it look like Mrs. Pac-Man, but it's
Miss Pac-Man. She's not married.
She might be married.
She's an independent woman.
You don't know what she's been doing lately. You have no idea. We're busy talking about cars. We have no idea what's happening in her life. But the interior is fine. This is a great time for you guys to start yelling again about the transmission, which I will not take away from you.
Well,
I was the one.
This particular photo here of the interior that's showing the new. I made a note of this. This is the new Subaru Performance Automatic Transmission.
SPT.
Subaru Performance Transmission.
Super Performance Transmission. It has 30% faster upshifts. It has 50% faster downshifts.
But it doesn't because it's a CVT, so
it's a CVT.
Downshifts.
It doesn't shift.
You know, people who appreciate this car will know that the current one, and I think the one before it, had a CVT as the non-manual option. And then Subaru comes out and says, oh, well, it's going to shift so much faster. We're like, holy crap, they put an 8-speed in it or something. They did not. They did not do that. But it still has a manual, so let's even out the score and say that's exciting.
Manual. And I mean, if you're an enthusiast, that'll be the one that you go for.
So they sell 2 cars with a manual. That's exciting.
Yeah, I didn't think about that.
Does Crosstrek get a manual? No, right?
No.
They killed that.
So the manuals aren't dead, and I think I mentioned this in an article I wrote yesterday. I think about Bronco, because the Ford Bronco take rates for manual, the 2 doors, it's like 25%. I mean, that's thousands of vehicles, presumably, once they get them built. So manuals, they're not dead. They're just
French for anyone tonight.
I know.
No, you guys are really swinging tonight.
That's just the manual. It just has to go into the right car. So I'm very happy to see that Subaru still has the manual in their WRX. I'm really keen to see if they jazz it up more with the STI. I'm not on the same hate train with the power that Bruce is.
Why not?
Because you don't need to pack this car with gobs of power. It's already going to be just not ridiculously fast, but it's going to be thrillingly fast. It's going to be thrillingly fast on road. It'll be thrillingly fast on back roads, which is where this thing belongs.
But should you add more than 3 horsepower with 4 liters? Yes, absolutely you should. 400 cc's of displacement.
If you put a bigger engine in a car, shouldn't you have more horsepower and torque?
But it's not just about displacement. And I know something about this because I have a 95 Mustang in the garage with 215 horsepower. I've got an SN95 Mustang in the garage with 215 horsepower out of its 5 liter. So I know a little something about this. It's not just about power. It's about how you're using that power. I haven't looked at this enough to know how the power band is responding versus the outgoing car. I don't know where that power, I don't know enough about the power band to know how it's hitting. I don't know. We don't have any fuel mileage numbers for this car yet. It might be a little bit better.
To someone with a 2006 Mini Cooper with the naturally aspirated engine. I'm not asking for a lot of power here. Like, I think my car has 121 horsepower from the factory? It's either 117 or 121, something like that. I'm not saying that a lot of power makes a difference. I'm just saying that if you buy a car with a larger engine, you expect it to make more power. But this one somehow goes from a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder to a 2.4-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder.
Yeah. And
somehow makes 3 horsepower and the same amount of torque more than the old one.
That's impressive. I'm at the point of the press release where I'm reading through the really, really random stuff, and I'm trying to maybe see something that we missed. 28% increase in torsional rigidity. That's not a bad thing. That's thanks to the new platform.
Yeah, that's the platform.
You boys ready for this one? 75% increase in suspension mounting point rigidity.
Yeah, I actually made a note of that because that stood out. Okay. But think about this though. I don't know how much time you guys are spending in the aftermarket, but like guys that go out,
I used to work for it,
and they'll put frame connectors under their car.
Yeah,
they'll put strut mount braces. I mean, I think those. I mean, we're kind of making a little fun here, but I think those rigidity points, I think they're valid. It's a thing to point out.
The new platform underneath this car makes me excited alone to drive it.
Yeah. And with 271 horsepower, yeah, sure. I mean, we could always have a little bit more power, but I don't think we need to crucify. I don't think we need to crucify Subaru for not just blowing up the WRX.
Chris Bruce, keep your hopes up. Maybe they will surprise us with the STI and give it 900 horsepower. Think about that.
I don't want 900 horsepower. I just want a respectable upgrade. I don't need this. The WRX has never had stupid amounts of power, but
we've been saying the same thing about the BRZ. That only got 20 or 40, whatever horsepower more, and the people are excited about that.
Yeah, it's not necessarily the power.
It's a naturally aspirated engine, though. Like with a turbocharger, you expect more.
Not necessarily. Not
Let's see.
necessarily.
Come on,
it's about the power band. Like I said, I'm not even joking here. I'm very interested to learn more about how the new engine in the WRX stacks up to the old, just in the way it's using its power. I mean, we had the same thing go down with, if you remember, what was it now, a couple years ago, with Ford's EcoBoost Mustang with the performance pack, where they're like, yeah, we've got the engine out of the Focus RS in the Mustang now. And it's like, you're doing all of this work and all of this effort to make like 5 or 10 more horsepower over the regular EcoBoost. It's like, why don't you just put a cold air kit and a tune on the standard engine, save a lot of money? You know, it's how that power is used. That engine, the RS engine, had a different power band.
Sure.
It goes to the ground a little bit, and that in turn affects the performance of the vehicle.
I respect that. And you know what?
So,
just like with Chevy talking to Smith, hey, Subaru, you guys want to talk to me? You want to send me on the WRX drive and prove me wrong? Let's go. I'm fine with that. But let's get to some questions from last week's episode, because I think we've kind of exhausted this. I
think we have. This is all brand new information. The Silverado, the Subaru.
Yeah.
But we did have some comments to talk about from last week, and we have some emails. Do you want to start, Bruce?
I do. So I want to start with one that came in via email, and you know what? I didn't lose it. Haha. So this is from our buddy Josiah. He came up with actually a really good comment on our YouTube that I want to expand into a full topic at some point, Smith, where he wants us to go against the original vehicle and the vehicle that revived it. So like the first one that came to my mind was Beetle versus New Beetle. The mid 90s, late 90s Camaro versus revived Camaro, stuff like that. But we kind of don't have enough time for that tonight. Right. So since we have 3 of us, Josiah also sent this question, and it's just fun. It's quick. You guys have to pick one of these. I'm going to go last for them all since I'm the one asking. So Clint, Smith, so you get to pick one of these vehicles or the other. So Ferrari 488 or Lamborghini Huracan?
488.
Huracan.
Also Huracan.
Wrong.
No, right.
Okay.
Wrong. Ferrari is prestigious. Lamborghini is just way too shouty. But hey, that's just me.
Okay. Tesla Model S Plaid, Porsche Taycan Turbo.
Taycan Turbo.
Also Taycan Turbo. Everyone
Taycan.
I had that beaten into my head at the debut.
Oh, that's right. You were at the debut. Okay,
I was in front of Niagara Falls.
Yes,
okay.
I remember that.
All right. Everyone agrees Taycan Turbo. Okay. McLaren F1, Ferrari Enzo.
F1.
Also F1. Okay.
That one wasn't hard for me. I was just delayed because I'm jet lagged.
Ford GT, Rimac Navara or Navara. I'm not sure how you say it.
Rimac.
Yeah, you're right.
GT.
No, I'd have that Rimac.
GT.
I'll take the GT.
Hell no. This new electric thing, oh my God. I'm so intrigued by that car.
Oh, it's epic in every way possible. I'm not thinking of it just in terms of sheer performance. I just, you know what? GT, that's going to be the end of an era. I'll take the end of the era.
Yep. Mercedes-AMG GT or McLaren 720S?
McLaren.
AMG.
I'm
all day long the McLaren.
AMG.
Also AMG.
The McLaren was the first car to ever properly scare me. And
I mean, if you want to be scared in a car, I guess, cool, man. I kind of want to enjoy my time.
The 720S was a car where I thought every single aspect of this car is better than I am, and you have to respect it accordingly. You also rev it, and the whole car shakes when you rev the engine. That thing is so special. It's so... And to go back to the first one, I'd have the McLaren over that Ferrari and the Huracan as well.
That's awesome. My neighbor has a pickup truck that shakes when you rev the engine.
Okay, wait. We got to go through this quick because we have a lot to go in our second segment. Okay. Mazda Miata, Honda S2000.
S2000.
Also S2000. Easy.
Well done.
Mercedes-Benz G-Class, Bentley Bentayga.
Bentayga.
G-Class.
G-Class.
What?
I don't like the
Bentayga?
G-Class. I'm a notorious G-Class hater.
You're dumb. Okay.
Where's the eject button?
Last one. Hyundai Veloster N, Honda Civic Type R.
Type R.
Same.
Hyundai.
Veloster's wonderful, though. They did a great job with that car. I mean, and the Kona is going to be great. I get to see Elantra N this weekend for the first time. So N products from Hyundai are very good. Don't get me wrong on that. But Civic Type R has the best manual gear change I think I've ever felt in a car. It has incredible brakes, which the Veloster doesn't have. It has the Brembos. And I'm one of the few that likes the styling. Civic Type R, touchdown.
And to go with your thing, Clint, to caveat mine, if I personally had to own it, Honda Civic Type R, Veloster N, you can get with that dual clutch.
Which is phenomenal.
And that's the thing. My wife can't drive a manual. If I actually had to put down the money and buy one as a married man, Veloster would be the one I would get. If it was just me, Civic.
Add a fourth door to it, and I would probably have it too.
Okay. All right. So that was our comment section. Again, Josiah, thank you very much for your comment. Smith, did you have a comment? I'm sorry. Did you have one that you pulled up?
You know, we did get one on email that it's super long, but I just want to touch through it because it's something that we don't. Yeah. We talked about last week a little bit that we don't talk about much on the program here.
Yep. If you can kind of edit that one.
Yep. Yep. We were talking about camper vans and cool DIY vans. We were talking about like major buses,
yep.
The sled Zeppelin, I think we were talking about. So this email comes in from Jessica, and just full disclosure, when the email popped in, I was like, wait a minute, I recognize that name. This is actually somebody that I know out here in South Dakota. So she says, hi, Chris S. and hello, Christopher B., who I haven't met. I finally got a chance to check out your podcast on the most recent episode. Great fun, even though I normally don't spend much time thinking about cars. See, folks, we are reaching everybody.
That's right.
With rambling about cars. And Jessica, thanks so much for sending this in. Wanted to tell you that I DIY'd my Hyundai Santa Fe into a mini camper for boondocking trips. I think that's
cool.
epic.
That's impressive.
I need to hear more about this. All my work was reversible. My big dog and I drove to Rhode Island, swinging through New York City,
just
down to DC.
Picture of your dog. We'd love to see him.
Yes,
we're all about like dogs in this company.
All about dogs. Rambling about dogs. I have stayed at Walmarts and other parking lots, relatives' garages, driveways, rest stops. Made my own custom trifold futon mattress, curtains, window reflectors. Bought custom breeze guard window screens for the back passenger windows. Everything else was easy to get, or I already had it. I could cook dinner, make my morning pour over coffee on the road.
Wow.
Yeah, a nice full-on great way to travel. I mean, it sounds like it's not like a full-on, hey, I'm just going to live in this full-time,
right? Yeah.
Creation like we've seen some people do. But yeah, I mean, I'm so intrigued by this. Intrigued to the point where I've even done a little bit myself on my Mazda 6 because there's actually a fair amount of space when I fold on the back seats with it being a hatchback.
Yep.
There's enough space in there for me to lay out just like a small little mattress pad, basically. And since my wife and I mean, we're okay. We're short people. I mean, we fit
Scarlett's cat. Does Scarlett fit?
Well, Scarlett owns the car, so I mean, she allows us to do these things. But I mean, yeah, I fit a little mattress pad in there. I've got a little fold up stove. And it's just a neat thing to do. I've been continually tempted over and over and over again to get probably a full size, like an E150 or something, an older van, and just do my own van. And I think a lot of people are really interested in that. So Jessica, thanks for sending that in. And folks, any of you listening, our email is podcast@motor1.com. Send us stuff like this. We talk about it. We want to share the things that you're doing with cars, even if you're not super interested in cars.
Yeah. And Jessica, I want to see your pup. I'm a dog owner myself. I want to see your dog.
There you go. Now, I'm trying to think of a witty transition from dog to Munich Motor Show.
My favorite dog is a German Shepherd.
Oh, Clint with the win.
Got it.
So we're not going to talk about the entire show because we're hoping to actually do that next week because we had a lot of people over in Germany for the show, including Clint. who did some amazing first look videos on some of the vehicles there. So you definitely want to check those out.
Clint was there for what, 36 hours?
I was there for a day and a half. Yeah.
What was it? 36 hours. So
what was it you were saying?
You were across the country or the
you
continent.
were in the air more than you were on the ground in Germany.
It was slightly more on the ground, but damn it was not by much.
Oh man.
Yeah. LA to Munich is not a close flight, but it was cool to see. I went with Mercedes-Benz and they showed off a lot of things we're about to talk about right now. But let me tell you, like the theme of the Munich show, electrification, and it has been put through our head in a lot of different ways. The Germans are on the forefront of a lot of this electric stuff. When you think about the cars that are on sale, apart from Tesla, obviously, a lot of the electric stuff we're seeing and pushing forward are a lot of German products. They're big on it. And the Japanese, some of the others, they're going to be coming behind, a few years behind it. We've kind of heard the trope in the past that like German companies try things first and then the Japanese get it right to where it doesn't break years later. I kind of feel like that's where we're at, and they're pushing some really cool concepts and some really cool production cars.
And Clint, I'm putting you on the spot here. Totally. Yeah. Okay. So if I mess you up, I'm sorry. But in being in Munich, as briefly as you were, did you see a lot of electrics, PHEVs on the road?
Yeah, it was cool because anytime I'm lucky enough to get to go abroad, which obviously hasn't been much lately, the first thing you do when you're jet lagged and in the shuttle from the airport is start looking at all the cars we don't get in America, right? Absolutely. And you get really geeked out seeing things. But I saw a ton of ID3s. I saw a bunch of things that were street parked because they do a really good job of street park EV charging. So these cars are parallel parked and plugged in. I'm like, damn it, they're doing a lot of things right. A lot of ID3s, a lot of like little small electric cars. I do think it's definitely not the default car, but there was certainly no shortage of things.
Cool. Okay.
Well, Mercedes, I mean, you said you went with Mercedes. They debuted, I think, six vehicles.
Yeah.
Two of them are concepts, or is it three?
Two cars are concepts. One of them is a plug-in AMG, then EQB. So it's 5 of the 6 are electric, and 1 is a plug-in performance hybrid. So everything has batteries.
Which we talked about the plug-in hybrid.
That thing rules.
Oh, I know. Clint, do you have a specific car that you want to start with here? I mean, we've got the EQE, we've got the EQB, and then we have the Mercedes AMG EQS. Those are the 3 production vehicles that debuted.
Yeah, that's right. So EQ for Mercedes-Benz means electric. It will stick around for a couple years and then probably go away. We're starting to think. I think if we're 5 to 10 years from now, it's still going to go back to C-Class, S-Class, things like that. They'll just all be battery cars. But for now, they showed off EQE, which you said, which is the little sibling to EQS, and it's meant to mimic the gas car, the E-Class. AMG EQS is the fast version of the EQS flagship electric vehicle. Then they did 2 concepts. One is Mercedes-Maybach EQS SUV, and then they electrified the G-Wagon too. In terms of where to start, this one's on the screen. Let's go for it. EQE. It is the second biggest sedan. It debuts with I think, crappy 288 horsepower, though they say because of the torque figure, I think it still gets to 60 and 5 and change or something like that. But the EQS has a good amount of juice. I think this thing is down on power, but still, they'll make faster versions of it down the line. I think they're badging this one a 350, and EQS is 450 and 580. So I think this is just the entry-level car. Other headline on EQE is it has Hyperscreen, which is the one single piece of glass that floats across the entire dashboard. I got to see it in person for the first time. It collects fingerprints like I collect Jolly Ranchers throughout the day. But it still looks very
noteworthy.
Cool.
I mean, that's noteworthy because that's something we talked about before. How are these big screens going to look when they're shut off and everybody's been touching them all day? I can see germaphobes getting in there and being a little uncomfortable.
The thing I haven't done yet is been around one of these cars at night, and you guys all know it from the amount of Mercedes cars you write about. The ambient lighting in these cars is truly special.
Phenomenal.
And
Absolutely.
the cabin looks really, really trick at night, so I'm excited to see it. I also think it looks a little better than the EQS, which the bar's on the floor for that, because that car's a giant rolling egg.
I don't think it's that bad.
It's not bad. This one has a trunk. EQS has a hatchback. That's weird, right?
I would take the hatchback in an instant. I'm a hatchback fan.
Yeah,
Me too.
same.
That doesn't look bad. That's a decent looking car. Hyperscreen on the inside is very cool. The name is confusing to me and I think sounds pretty bad. EQE. That's not a pretty name for a car when we have cars that are named Stelvio and other things. But like, you know, it's cool.
It doesn't exactly roll off the tongue, but I mean,
No.
I mean, it is what it is. Mercedes has signed on to go EQ with their electric vehicles.
Yeah.
And for the sake of symmetry, yeah, you're going to have the EQE, which will be the E-Class, the EQS, which will be the S-Class, the EQG, which will be the G-Class.
Mhm.
Do we want to segue to EQG?
We can, yeah. Hold on.
Let's do EQG. That's still a concept. They told us a few days before we left for Germany, like, hey, this concept is under wraps. Here's an NDA. Here's another NDA. Don't talk about it. Don't dream about it. Don't look at it. And then we get there and they show off these pictures. These are the live pictures that we shot on the show floor. It's a G-Wagon with a lot of extra spice going into that design work. 22-inch wheels that are kind of monoblock adjacent.
And
the
a ton
grill.
of LEDs.
Yeah, if you look at the grill, Chris, you can pick up the picture that has the blue stuff in it. It's basically a screen.
This one, right?
The grill is actually a screen. I mean, there's no grill there. It's just a screen that lights up. Then it has that sort of 3D effect going with the 3-pointed star. I mean, I dig it. I'm all right.
It's kind of cool.
Wait. I feel as though in 20 years, this is going to get mocked like the digital dashes of the 1990s get mocked. Am I wrong here?
No, I don't think you're wrong. I don't at all.
I think you're totally wrong.
Really, this feels gimmicky as hell to me.
I don't think the concept car or the production car will have that for what it's worth.
Oh, I sure as hell hope not. Yeah.
People mock the dashes, the digital dashes from the 90s. When did this start happening?
You and I have done it before. I love them, but they're dumb.
I love them. Yeah,
Chris, you live in 1992, so you would know exactly whether or not.
About?
Yeah,
honestly, could go either way.
Could go either way. I'll give 92 the nod to Bruce because I'm a little bit older than that.
Yeah.
They did preview some of the powertrain stuff with this, so it's going to have 4 electric motors. Very cool. Torque vectoring at each wheel. This should off-road better than the gas G-Wagon. I don't care if you hate electric cars or not. This will be a monster off-road, and it has a 2-speed gearbox to mimic a low range on the gas car, which I think is very cool. Now that he's on the back picture, you don't get a spare tire anymore. You get a little square compartment where you can store the charge cord.
Which is interesting because I didn't realize that electric vehicles apparently will no longer need spare tires.
Yes,
exactly.
it will. Yeah, sorry.
Rubber
Sucks
no
to
longer
suck.
breaks with electric vehicles.
Nah, just plug in the tire and charge
the
it back
interior, I don't think is near production. You can hear me say that because no hyperscreen, none of that crap. This is an actual G-Wagon that they just gussied up because that still has the command system. If this car debuts in 3 years, they're not going to put a command system in it. No way.
Well, it's something that you had just said that's important to touch on. I mean, this is a concept, but Mercedes, they did say this is near production. So I mean, the EQG, when it comes out, it's going to be fairly close to what we're seeing here.
This car is their baby. G-Wagon is their baby. It's still going to go through all of the Austria tests that they put the G-Wagon through. They still want it to be a monster off-road. I'm excited to see this in production form. I'll say that.
Bruce, do you have the standard Mercedes media photos handy?
The Invader, Zim, Space Age,
Clint,
crazy shit.
Did they give you any sort of like context on what the hell they were smoking?
They're up there,
these?
Chris.
I do.
Because
so there was a whole video when the car debuted, Chris. Yeah. So those space aliens have names, and it's going to be part of this big marketing campaign that they're doing.
Those are space aliens? That explains his hair.
I call them space aliens. What the hell is that? Like, that's Mercedes Iron Man standing next to the car.
That's like Future World in the background.
I just want to say, like, guys, imagine getting off of a flight across the world with no sleep, going straight to this event from the airport, and they start showing this crap. And they expect you to, like, not think you're tripping.
I mean, these are some great... Bruce, these will go into our classic
That photo specifically
automaker media photos.
Yeah,
of all time.
These are my press photos of the year. I will say that hands down. I can't think of anything that comes close to this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, they certainly grab some attention with those media photos.
But there is a little first look video that I shot there in person. Feel free to check it out. It gives you a quick runaround of the exterior design up close. Yep,
the video is embedded in our article here, and then you can also, of course, go to Motor1.com on YouTube, where we have all of our first look videos and all of our other videos that we're doing. We're doing a lot more video work. Clint is just nailing it as director of video.
We're trying. Look, my hair is done on that one right now. Ooh, that's too much of me on screen. We should move on to something else. How about AMG EQS? That's exciting. They told
AMG
us
EQS.
They told us
this
that
is the
EQS.
SUV we're talking about, right?
No, I was talking about the car.
The
AMG.
sedan.
Sorry, I was thinking Maybach. Okay, sorry.
No, this is also difficult, and I know we're probably going in circles, so people listening are saying, what the hell? But there are going to be 2 cars in the Mercedes-Benz lineup called EQS. The EQS that's on sale now. They do. The EQS sedan, I guess it's technically a hatchback, but the car is on sale now. The EQS SUV is going to be the GLS, but electrified. So the biggest SUV with batteries in it. Both called EQS.
Well, I mean, let's be honest. The option was confusing people a little bit with EQS and EQS SUV, or EQS and EQGLS.
GLEQS. Yeah, I have no idea.
TV LZ me T.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
So we saw this is the car. So this is going to be the fast version of the EQS sedan. It's called EQS 53 in Europe. It's not in America. They nixed that. It's just called AMG EQS. It's not a 63 because this car does not pass all the standards that Mercedes-Benz has for their fastest AMG models.
Now, the announcement said that, and I don't know, Clint, if you can offer some clarification here.
Yeah.
AMG has worked on the electric motors. This has dual electric motors, right?
That's right.
What exactly is AMG doing to electric motors?
They had lunch with them and they asked how their feelings were, and I had no idea. There's no idea. They're coming from the same plant. I mean, they just turn up the juice on the electric motors.
Right. I mean, we know, AMG, you can sit down and fiddle with an internal combustion engine. You can change parts, you can do things, but electric motor is pretty much...
I agree with you.
Wherever you go, I would really like to know what AMG is doing special to these electric motors.
They're not going to let a car. Yeah, they're not going to let a car out of the factory that says AMG on it not handle. So they definitely were a part of that. But yeah, it's pretty much bang on with the EQS interior. It has 751 horsepower and like the launch control function, 0 to 60 in 3 and change, and it won't be as fast as the Model S Plaid. I don't know if you really need it to be. This should be, on paper at least, a good competitor to Taycan Turbo S. This car is a lot bigger than Taycan Turbo. It's a big car, so it's a lot of car to throw around corners. But it's cool.
I think we have an WLTP range of 470 some miles.
Yeah, that cycle's pretty easy on cars.
Yeah, we know that's probably going to be lower when it. For United States. Did Mercedes give any sort of taste on what that's going to be? Because
not that I remember off the top of my head. I don't think the battery capacity is increased. Am I wrong on that?
I don't have that info in front of me. I just know I saw the 478 mile range and was like, well, that sounds really, really good. But we know the WLTP cycle
so probably
is really generous.
I think, knock 100 off of that, and you're probably in.
But that's still 378 if you knock 100 off of that. I mean, if you're still talking like 350-mile range, I mean, I still think that's pretty good.
I agree.
I think it's going to be less than that for what it's worth.
For a car with this kind of performance. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it'll charge quickly. It'll do all those sorts of things. Their 800-volt architecture isn't coming for a few more years, and that'll be a big deal for all their cars. But I think that's a future thing that we don't have just yet.
Can we talk about the EQB pretty quickly? Because
I think it is pretty quickly, because I'm not certain that it's coming to America.
I kind of doubt it. Yeah,
I think it is. I didn't our colleague Brett Evans write this one up here?
Yeah, he did.
Hold on, let me.
And I've got it right here. I think
you got it?
he said that U.S. sales confirmed.
Huh. Okay, it's coming to America. The EQA is the one that's not confirmed yet. My bad. EQC is not coming here. That's the one that's been on sale in Europe for a few years. But this is kind of cool because it's just, I mean, I sat in this in Germany. It's a carbon copy of GLB, a car that I frickin' love. Just electrified. The interior is the same size MBUX screen, stuff like that. No hyperscreen nonsense in this.
I mean, what do we know? I haven't had much of a chance to look at this one. What do we know about power range? Because I mean, the AMG EQS is neat, and then of course the EQE might have a larger mainstream audience, but I think the EQB will be probably the most mainstream of all of these electric offerings right now.
So I'm looking at it now. You're getting front and rear electric motors, 66.5 kilowatt hour lithium ion battery, that WLTP. So again, you've got to take this number down, but in that estimate, 419 kilometers, that's 260 miles. So
it should be
pushing 200.
Well, everything I'm reading, including our story, is saying about 250, 260 miles of range.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
It can do it. I mean, that'd be cool. I think my problem with the EQ cars is none of them look as good as their gas counterparts. That's my problem.
I think that's a perfect segue. Bruce, do you have the Maybach handy by chance?
Guys...
Can we talk about that for a second?
We can, because I've got it pulled up here, but everyone says it looks bad.
It does.
I don't think it looks that bad.
It does.
It looks like it's
bad.
No, okay, so it's like this, right? It looks
press.
like one of those prank couple videos where the guy just filled his girlfriend's shampoo bottle with super glue and he's hiding in the other room grinning his ass off about, over what's about to happen. I mean look at the front of this thing.
It's bad. It's got a lot of face. That's a Maybach version. A lot of face.
This is the Mercedes-Maybach EQS SUV. Is that correct?
Correct.
So this will come. This is in Maybach form as a concept. We'll see it in non-Maybach form, aka just EQS SUV, next year, and then the production car will be on the road 2023 at the earliest.
It does have a lot of face.
That's a lot of face.
Looking at this image now.
Think about this for the regular EQS SUV. That's just going to be a giant 3-point star in the middle. That is way too much face. There's not going to be the Maybach grill streaks.
Yeah. Okay, you're convincing me slowly.
I mean,
24-inch wheels, which could be the first on any production car, but I don't know who in their right mind needs 24s on an electric car. They got to be range stealers.
Yeah, that's always bugged me about large wheels. They just zap power. They look good in some instances, others not really. The interior looks fantastic.
Nice.
Well, it's a Maybach.
It's supposed to. Of course, it's going to look nice.
It's
you
cool.
don't have to see the face from in there. I don't know. Whenever I look at that concept, I think, okay, if Jim Carrey ever did another Mask movie,
that's what
he should drive.
This is what he would drive.
It is.
And the two-tone's bad, too. Two-tone shouldn't be on EQG either, for what it's worth. They get a little rambunctious with the two-tone.
No, the two-tone looks classy. I really like the two-tone. I would like to see more cars with
two-tone is bad. I think if you did a black on silver, it would be okay. Black on red is kind of classless to me.
Oh, come on. Black on red is timeless.
No. It's not.
I think that covers all of the cars they debuted, though. Underline statement here. Mercedes-Benz is going electric, and they're doing it very rapidly. The Germans in general are pushing on this very hard. If you're one of the people that tells us you hate electric cars forever and ever, you're going to have to get over it, because there are not plans for them to make a combustion engine for the foreseeable future, if not ever again.
And you know what? We've said it many times on the show. Me personally, I'm fine with that. Electric, there's no reason to not like electric power. There's no reason to not like, from an enthusiast standpoint, to not like the instant thrust that you get. There's no reason to not like the simplicity of the design. I mean, how many people really relish taking their car into the dealership for expensive services? We got to go in and get the timing belt done. We got to go in and get the oil changed. We got to go in. The water pump is leaking. We got to get the water pump fixed. By the way, I'm just going down like the list of stuff I've done on my Mazda recently. You don't have that with electric cars. You don't have to worry about the radiator springing a leak. It's just bring it on. Bring it on, Mercedes.
No. And I agree with you, simply because, and it's the same reason that the Save the Manuals Brigade kind of bothers me. There are going to be, for your and my lifetime at least, millions of vehicles with an internal combustion engine available, that if you want that and if you want to keep that on the road, that you are going to be able to. It's I brought this up before, and I'm sorry to whatever author mentioned it, but it's the same thing with horses. There was a time a century ago when horses served a function, that they were a real life work animal. Now they're pets. You can still ride your horse, you can do whatever, but it's not an animal that you need to like.
You're going to get some hate mail from the Amish community.
If the Amish community is watching this, I want to get their hate mail, because I'd love to hear from them. But horses don't fulfill a work element anymore. They're pets. You can still ride them. You can still dressage or race or whatever you're going to do with them. But that thing exists, and that's going to exist with the internal combustion engine as well. That it might be a smaller community than it was whatever time ago, but you're still going to be able to buy that vehicle.
And you know what? If you go back into, say, the very late 1800s, early 1900s, just as this crazy thing called the car was coming about.
Yeah.
I will bet a bazillion dollars.
That's a lot.
That there is some guy with his horses saying, "You'll never get me in one of those stupid mechanical fangled cars. That machine doesn't have any soul like this horse does."
Right.
Now, how many people are now talking, "You'll never get me into one of those quiet electric cars because they have no soul like my V8 does"? Gee, sounds kind of familiar, doesn't it?
And to build on that, my grandfather, he owned a horse. This was in the 20s. Yeah, he was super, super proud that he had a horse that could outrun a Model T. Like, that was... Yeah. He had a story that he told me multiple times. Like, he had this horse that could outrun a Model T. Like, and I bet he did, because a Model T wasn't especially fast, especially on dirt roads in West Virginia. But, the times have changed, and the same thing is going to happen. Electric cars are... Just look at a Model S Plaid, look at a Taycan Turbo S, and it's only going to get... That level's only going to get lower and lower. Electric cars are faster than internal combustion vehicles, but there's still going to be this group of people out there that are going to love their internal combustion vehicles, and that's fine.
I love mine. I'll probably have one. I love the sound. Clint, there's one other thing that I wanted to run by you, because you kind of touched on it here about Mercedes just like going full speed ahead on electrification. We saw that in a major way at Munich. But is it really a full-on German thing? Because, I mean, where's BMW at? What did BMW have at the 2021 Munich Motor Show, aside from their Vision concept?
made of recyclables. But in fairness, BMW, our colleague Jeff Perez is driving the iX and the i4 this week, 2 electric cars that are adding to their roster.
I guess I bring it up because I was shocked at Mercedes taking such a big step at really their home show.
Yeah,
Mercedes just builds so many damn cars. It makes sense that they turn all the damn cars into electric damn cars.
And
Audi
BMW just didn't have quite the same presence. Audi didn't have quite the same presence.
Audi has Grand Sphere, which is going to show off we've seen mock-ups of electrified A6s and stuff.
Yeah.
I say the Germans because they have rolling EVs on the road right now. Toyota, one of the biggest car makers in the world, is just starting to flirt with a full battery electric vehicle in their production line. I know that they've done hybrids and plug-in hybrids better than most for a long time now, but in terms of full electrification, the Japanese have, look at Honda. They no plug-in hybrids, none of that stuff. I mean, they're slower to come to the table. I think they're trying to get their engineering right and doing it right.
Mazda or Subaru. The Japanese have been very slow.
Yeah. So, we'll have a taste of Toyota, the fax machine car, the BEZ4, whatever the hell it's called. And Honda has plans for its first EV, I think, in 2 years. So I think Nissan, to their credit, gave us the Leaf years ago, and since then there hasn't been another Japanese EV sold in the US, unless I'm very wrong.
Mitsubishi, IMEV.
Okay, yeah. I'm fine being wrong with that one and forgetting that one.
No, yeah.
A lot of people did, to be fair.
You were right, though. Correct. Okay. Yeah. Electrification is coming. It is already here. It's going to keep coming at us. I'm with you guys. At least we have the right mindset of enjoy the performance and the crazy stuff. It's a different topic for a different day, but how they're going to differentiate AMG vehicles versus non-AMGs and Maybachs versus non. If everything just has a battery in it, how do you make one car feel special compared to another car? That's where I'm really curious to see how this happens in the future.
Oh, that's very, very insightful from you, Clint.
My jet lag is messing with my mind.
It's
I have
messing with
these
your
tricks
mind.
now. Yeah,
it's
I
the
can
jet
do it
lag, and it's nothing else in that bottle of whatever that you're drinking. I got you.
No, it's unfortunately just water. It's still work hours. When are you guys going to let me go have dinner?
Exactly. Well, Clint, now is essentially the answer. Why don't you tell our listeners where they can follow you, where they can find you, whatever?
Yes.
Yeah, I appreciate we've already talked about the video stuff, but I run all of our video efforts at Motor One, so please do us a favor and subscribe, not only to this channel, Motor One Podcast, because we love these guys and want to keep them going, but the Motor One US YouTube channel. And then in addition to that, you can follow me on Twitter at Clint Simone, first name, last name, where I have horrible takes on a very regular basis.
I can attest to that. I see most of those. I don't see them all.
I love trolling. I love trolling more than most people, and I'm sorry. I just can't take everything seriously. This is automotive. It's supposed to be fun. We're passionate people, you know?
I'm with you, and I've been posting a little bit more on Twitter as well. I'm at CH Writing. Bruce, you're at Chris Bruce 1985.
That's right.
Clint, thanks much for being on the show. And
it's always fun. Now that I'm a West Coast guy, I'll be on here more often, I promise.
Yes, you're
always welcome.
You're West Coast now. I'm sort of Middle Coast. Bruce is
East-ish Coast. I'm in the Eastern time zone.
Eastern time, so
6 hours to get to the coast. So
before we wrap this up, though, let's tell our listeners and our watchers here a little bit about what's coming up, because we actually have some things that we're going to tease coming up on Rambling About Cars. Starting,
so, dude, this is kind of all on you. You've set this stuff up, so I'm going to put this on your shoulders. So go ahead. And
well, next week, Clint, if you're available, hopefully we can have you back along with senior editor Jeff Perez.
Yep.
Because you guys, Jeff is still. I mean, they were all over in Germany for the show, and we really want to get a little bit more on the Munich Motor Show, but a little behind the scenes of what all's going on there. And I think it's also a really good time to have an auto show discussion on what's the future of auto shows, because really this is the first like major proper world auto show
That's true.
Since COVID. And we've seen automakers.
Oh, just super quick to build on that. the vast majority of our audience are not automotive journalists, and we kind of want to give that peek behind the curtain. What is it like as an automotive journalist to cover an auto show? So that was something we kind of want to get out of Jeff and Clint. So
I had a horrible sandwich at about 11 a.m. from a German supermarket because I missed lunch.
About your bad sandwiches.
We need to hear about that. So we're going to try to have that next week for everybody.
Sounds good.
And then at another point, hopefully in the next 2 to 3 weeks, we're going to have a special guest. I don't want to say who it is yet. But if you've been watching the show on Discovery Getaway Driver, it's basically about it's a reality show where people are in this kind of apocalyptic style setting and they have to escape driving their cars, and there are pursuers that are trying to stop them. Michelle Rodriguez from the Fast franchise is the host on it. We actually have one of the drivers from that show lined up that's going to come in and share his experience and talk a little bit about what he's doing. And he's a wild guy. And if you've been listening to the podcast and you know some of the cars that I talk about sometimes, and maybe you have an idea who it is, but we're going to have that, and we're really excited to have that happen, to have him on. And you know what? We're also looking further down the road at ideas of talking about car hobbies, getting more of you, listener, involved in what you're doing. Like Jessica emailed us with her van that she created to travel around the country, and we want to hear more about those kind of quirky hobbies that you're doing.
And that's kind of been something we've been wanting to do kind of since the show began, is to kind of to get the normal person on, to get someone who has a cool project car, who has a cool car hobby or something like that, to kind of get them on the show for a segment. So you've heard closer to that. You've
heard me and Bruce talk about some of the models that we build. I could do a whole show just on building scale models, because that's such a lost art. Yeah. But I mean, in the internet age, why sit down and build a car when you can play Pokemon? I mean, it's a little tough, but hey, you know what? You're building model cars, scale model cars. You've got a cool slot car track. You're into RC cars. You have a cool diecast collection. You collect hubcaps. You collect license plates. We really want to do an episode on that stuff. So we're putting the feeler out there right now. If you are into this, and we know that you are, podcast@motor1.com. Email us. Of course, you can always contact us through Twitter. You can comment on the post that we put up every Friday at motor1.com. You can comment on our videos at YouTube. Woo! I think now it's time to pretty much wrap things up. What do you think, Bruce?
I think it is. Spitz, you kind of stole my thunder, but as always, good afternoon. No, not in a bad way.
This is your speech right here. This is the Chris Bruce closing argument.
It is. And like I said, you hit all the major points that I do. But as always, good afternoon, good evening, or good night, whenever you happen to be listening to us. We appreciate you. We love every comment that we get. We try to respond to every comment that we get. I think I'm
going to do better.
Pretty damn good job, more or less.
I'm going to do better.
Okay. Well, I could say Smith is going to do better. I try to respond to every, maybe I missed a couple, but I try. But, we appreciate you. We thank you. And we thank you for listening to the show. I've said this before, we would just be talking about this stuff in our Slack channel or just online between ourselves somewhere if it weren't for you guys. So we love that you're listening to us. And we're looking forward to in the future. Like we said, we've got some kind of cool guests tentatively lined up. We don't know when they're going to come, but we know that they're going to come. And it's going to be fun. So
we're thinking about this in the future. So woo-hoo.
Yeah, love it.
All right. Well, thank you very much. All right.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.